Okay, now I think I'm on record of saying how much I like black pudding before on this channel. And I'm having black pudding for lunch today. Except this is black pudding with a difference. This is vegan black pudding, Mk2. So for today's recipe, I need to pick the mushrooms that are more mature specimens. Let's have a look at what I'm talking about here. There's a mature specimen. Gills are chocolate brown. They do get darker than this even. There is a younger specimen. Gills inside there are still pinkish buff. Same thing there. It's the dark ones I want today because all of this gill material here will cook down and give us the colour and the flavour we want in our fake black pudding. So I'm just going to sift out some of the more mature specimens and we will use those. It's kind of good really anyway because the less mature, the younger specimens will keep a bit longer anyway. And I have got a huge basket of mushrooms here, so there is more than enough for me today here, so we'll probably give some away to some friends. See, there's a very mature one, dark chocolate brown colour to the gills, but that's exactly what we want. And again there. So that will do, I think. So I've got a nice basket full, probably half a kilo there, of field mushrooms. Now, these are going to cook down a lot. So that might seem like a lot, but it cooks right down. Now, as always with wild mushrooms, I am not washing them, and I'll explain once more. If they're that dirty that they need washing, I don't pick them. Now, I know there's people who think the entire outside world is drenched in urine, and really that view is, at best, a great exaggeration. So I'm just giving them a wipe over the caps with a damp kitchen paper towel. And it's important to note that most of what I'm wiping off here, that might look like dirt, but that's actually just spores. So when these mushrooms were stacked in the basket, spores are coming out of the gills here, which are chocolate brown in colour, and falling on the caps of other mushrooms. So actually these are cleaner than even they might look. But one thing I do know is washing would ruin them. So I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to carry on cleaning these mushrooms, and then we'll chop them up and we'll fry them. And we're just going to gently saute them until all of the juice comes out, but we're going to leave that juice out because that's going to hydrate the oats and other things in our sausage. Okay, so there we go. That's our prepared mushrooms. I've just weighed that. It's just shy of 500 grams of prepared, very nice, mature mushrooms. Now, if you can't get field mushrooms, or if you don't feel confident to pick them, which is understandable, you can get some really nice mushrooms in the shops, and the way to do it is actually go for open cap mushrooms and maybe buy them when they're really close to their expiry, maybe when they're reduced, and they'll be much more mature. And if you get ones with dark gills, they'll have much more flavour. Okay, so we're going to get a couple of pans going here. Non-stick one at the front here, and my cast iron pan at the back. Cast iron pan is just going to receive a whole onion that I've just diced. And then the front one is going to have the mushrooms. So let's get those two going. Now, a mountainous amount of mushrooms. Mountainous amount. Looks like too much for the pan, doesn't it? But that will cook down. While we're waiting for that to cook, I'll tell you what else we're going to be putting in there. I've got some pearl barley here. So this is barley that I've soaked and then boiled until it's soft. It's like barley berries, I suppose. So while the mushrooms and onions are cooking, let's just talk about other things we're going to put in here. Now, I'm weighing this all into a bowl just so I can tell you roughly what weight I've got. But I am making this up as I go along, so do understand this is not a recipe. This is just you're watching me invent something here, which may or may not be good. So I've got a bunch of sage, fresh sage from the garden. I'm putting the leaves in whole because everything that's going in this bowl is going to go into the food processor with the mushrooms. So, well, there we go. That's about 4 grams of sage. And then I've got several little sprigs of thyme. Again, fresh thyme from the garden. Just taking the leafy bits off not the twigs. Oh, it's lovely aromatic thyme. A lovely fragrance. Okay, and I've got some marjoram. Marjoram, which is similar to oregano or oregano if you prefer. So basically a load of herbs. Now you could just use a dried mixed Provençal type herb mix if you want. It would be fine. You could use other herbs in there if you want, like rosemary. That would also be very good. Then we will want a very generous grind of pepper. Pepper is going to be one of the spices that really makes this sausage taste like what it should. So, very generous grind of black pepper. Equally quite generous grind of fresh nutmeg. Now you can use just dried nutmeg if that's what you've got. But there we go. Must be about, I don't know, quarter of a nutmeg in there. And then we're going to have a cup of rolled oats. Now, just so I can tell you what that actually weighs, I'm going to weigh it in. So there we go, a cup of rolled oats, which is about 100 grams. And then just to give this a bit of binding, I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of just plain wheat flour. 2 heaped tablespoons of wheat flour. At the moment there's no salt in anything. We will be adding salt as well. Just for a nice rounded out herby savoury flavour, this Swiss vegetable bouillon. Just about a heaped teaspoonful in there. Now something else I'm going to add, because I have it, you might not be able to get hold of this, but these are my homemade pickled walnuts. These have been maturing in the jar for several years now, in fact. So I'm going to put a couple of these in here for 2 reasons. One, they will just add a bit of, well, they're the right colour for what we're making, but also they'll add a bit of spiciness to it. Now if you can't get pickled walnuts, any kind of chutney really, a couple of teaspoons of any kind of chutney will be a good substitute. Okay, now these mushrooms are about where I want them now, so they've cooked down. They are fully cooked, but look at the amount of juice that has come out of those. That's good. That's what we want. So, I'm going to turn the heat off on the mushrooms now, and then we're going to go across to the food processor. All of those dry ingredients into the food processor. That might not be enough oats, but we can adjust for that when we bring them out. Now, the mushrooms, together with all of their juice. This is the reason I used a non-stick pan, was so that I wouldn't waste any of that delicious juice. And about half of the onions. Only half, because the other half we're going to mix in as pieces. So, let's give that a whiz. Next, I'm going to put in a heaped teaspoonful of yeast extract. Essentially Marmite, but this is the low salt one. And I have this for, well, because you can have more of it. So the low salt one is just less salt, more of everything else. So this has got the real savoury flavour, but not so much of the salt, because we've already added that stock powder, which is a fair bit of salt in it as well. So nice heaped teaspoonful of that, and we'll give it another blend. So now we're just going to assess for texture. It looks a little bit on the moist side, so I'm going to throw in another handful of oats, I think. Obviously that wheat flour will soak up some of this moisture when it cooks, so we don't want to be too much here, but I'm just going to chuck in another handful of oats there, probably about, I don't know, 30 grams. Right, so this is not the final mixture, but what we're going to do now is just take a little piece of this and fry it off so we can taste it. Like that. We're just going to fry that off. Editing shrimp here, just a brief interlude to answer the inevitable question that always comes up whenever I make a video like this one, and that question is why? Why would you do this? Well, with the greatest of respect, that's the wrong question. The question is actually, why not? And it turns out that's the answer too. Why not? This will give us a chance to adjust the seasoning, adjust the texture if we need to. Well, it's browning nicely when we fry it up. That's a very encouraging sign. Okay, that's cooked sufficiently for us to taste it. Well, it kind of looks the part, doesn't it? Let's have a little taste. Okay, it needs more pepper. Definitely more pepper. And it needs a bit more salt. So based on that little tasting, it definitely needs quite a bit more pepper. Most things do. So, really generous grind of pepper in there. I think maybe a bit of garlic. So I've got some garlic powder here. We'll put a bit of that in as well. And it definitely needed a bit more salt. It's starting to look the part there. I'm going to put a little squirt of tomato puree in there for flavour, but also just to adjust the colour a little bit. And now we'll have the rest of our onions and the pearl barley. And let's get that all mixed together. So I'm going to leave that now, let that completely cool, and we'll come back in a minute so that we can prepare it for steaming. Right, I'll apologise in advance for any background noise you might hear. Next door they're having a new garage door fitted, so there's drilling and stuff going on. This is now cooled down. I would say the texture's possibly a little bit on the soft side. Flavour, very good. So just to give it a little bit more body, I'm going to put another handful of oats in. So we're probably up to about 2 cups of oats in total now. So about 200 grams of oats in total. But the good thing is we've got whole oats in there now, and we've got the blended oats as well. So we've got a variety of texture which will be useful in the final product. Right, now it is time to try to make this into some kind of sausages. So for this I'm going to use this parchment paper. This is kind of silicone coated or something, I think. Hopefully this will be non-stick enough to come off in one piece when we're done. So a piece of the paper ready. So I think we'll just give it a little drip of oil. That's quite a lot of oil. Yeah, that's the background noise I was talking about. And we'll give that a spread, hopefully to stop it from sticking to the outside. And then we'll just get some flour on there just to stabilise that oil, actually. Stop it just running away. So now we've got to kind of arrange a bunch of this stuff on here. Okay, and then we'll try and roll it up. Not bad. And we'll tie up one end. Now, kind of turn that end to fill it out. That looks good. That looks not too bad. And again, we'll just tie up this end. Now we do need to leave a little bit of slack in this, or else it will just burst. So there's a little bit of slack in there just to allow that to expand as it cooks. The second verse, same as the first. I better just check that does actually fit in my pan. Hopefully this will be all right. I've only got one layer of paper there, but we'll give it a go. So just going to double wrap this in foil before we finish. That's good. So those two things need to go in the steamer. I think they're not going to go in the same one. So that's the steamer basket. So yeah, we'll just about squeeze one of those in there, kind of. The other one's going to have to go in the other basket. Okay, so water's boiling. Double steamer on top. Lid on. We'll just turn that up a little bit so it steams properly. And we're going to steam that for 45 minutes at least. And at 45 minutes, what I'll do is I'll just give it a poke with my finger, and I'm expecting to feel it really tight and firm. Okay, well that was pretty much a complete disaster. Unfortunately, the wrappings have split and the contents have all squirted out. So, plan B, there's always got to be a plan B, is going to be, we'll get this stuff out, we'll put it into a square dish and press it. So yeah, it is cooked, but it's not going to take the form of a sausage, so we might as well just give up on that idea. Empty it out of the wrapper. Fortunately, the wrappers have stayed in one piece. It's just that the pressure was too great inside the wrapper and it's just burst the wrapping. So let's dispense with those. And then I think we'll just give it a squeeze into the corners and press it down with a weight, which just happens to fit the pan perfectly. So we're going to leave that to set now and cool. We'll put it in the fridge, let it set properly, and we'll have square black pudding. Well, or square something. So leave that to cool now. Okay, so this has been in the fridge overnight. This is the black pudding. So let's see how easily this will come out of this loaf tin. I'm just going to run a knife around the edge, hopefully to help it release a little bit. Well, not too bad. Now, so it's just a big rectangular block, and I want to have circles for frying up. Now, I don't have a circle cutter as such. I've only got this this fluted circle cutter, but I think we'll give that a go. Let's see what we end up with. I'm going to cut about there. Of course, all the trimmings we can use anyway. And I won't just waste these, we'll fry them up regardless. But there, we've got a kind of cylinder of stuff we can slice, and it'll look better on the thumbnail. So I think we'll slice that into maybe just 3 nice neat slices. It's quite sticky. And this is not the ideal way to do this, but okay, got away with it. Okay, now I think I'm on record of saying how much I like black pudding. Okay, now to make this something approaching a proper fry up, we're also going to have some sausages, which happen to be these meatless farm sausages. I thought I'd give them a try. Let's have a look and we'll see what's in them. These are made from primarily pea protein. Good. Okay, well, we'll give it a go. Okay, now we're about halfway through cooking, and I've got to say, not sure about these sausages, but the black pudding, vegan black pudding, it really does look the part. Okay, so there it is, and I'm actually pretty happy with that. That looks, to me, like a nice hearty little fry up. Completely vegan. So these are meat-free sausages, and this is my mushroom-based black pudding. I think this is the thing we need to taste first. You got something to say, dog? Just going to have a little bit of salt. An extra pepper. Right, the black pudding is the star of the show. Let's give this a taste. Well, let's have a look at it first. So, yeah, it definitely looks the part. You can still see the barley grains in there, and it's got a lovely dark colour from those mushrooms. Let's have a taste. Texture is really good. Flavour, obviously, you're not going to get the same flavour from anything as you would get from animal blood. But in its own right, that's really good. It's got such a rich mushroom flavour. I am very, very pleased with this. That is a result. Okay, so let's just try these Meatless Farm sausages. Well, the thing is with sausage is the texture is often very divorced from meat. Anyway, let's have a taste. Yeah, they taste alright actually. I wouldn't say they're anything like sausages. Except they happen to be cylindrical in shape. But, yeah, they taste alright. And then I've just got a little potato cake here with chives and a nice wild mushroom. Now there's already a lot of mushroom on this plate. So let's try the black pudding with a little dollop of brown sauce. See, once you start to put things like ketchup and sauce on there, I really, actually, if somebody served me this and didn't tell me, black pudding is such a variable thing anyway, I actually probably wouldn't know. So there we go, that was vegan black pudding, made from mushrooms, wild mushrooms. What a result. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.